right, okay, let's get started. Hey, good afternoon, good morning, or good night, depending on where you are. My name is Ryan Selvy, and I'm here with Offset for the week as Adobe Live team is on vacation, having that work-life balance. Hey to Cody, to RB, Alessandra, Gareth, Joshua, Anika, all in the chat saying hello over on Behance. If you're over on YouTube, make sure you hop on over to Behance with the link that Cody is going to throw into the chat for you. And we'll be monitoring all chat and having conversation over on Behance. So I'm so excited about today's guest. He is an extraordinary artist. He really goes out of his way to create the best work online. He is one of my favorite artists, and his name is Ryan Selvy. I don't have a guest for today right now, which is exciting and weird for an offset. We're not doing interview style. We'll instead be hopping on into After Effects, my home sweet home, and we'll be going over a few ways that you can approach motion into your designs, even if you've never done it before. I'm trying to keep it as basic and rudimentary as possible. So if you have any questions while I'm going through, please let me know. I've been in After Effects for over 10 years. So some things are second nature to me and I might just do them. But if I do something, let me know. Oliver just says not blowing your own trumpet or anything. I'm not blowing mine. I am just amplifying the guests that I have on stream today, which is, me. So yeah, no, we're going to be actually animating Anika's thumbnail for Let's InDesign, which, if you're not familiar, is a wonderful show focusing on InDesign here on Adobe Live, where Anika Agarwal walks through some of the basics and the not basics, the more complex approaches to InDesign. And it happens on Tuesdays at, what time is it? 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, Anika? You tell me. I should know this. But it happens on Tuesday afternoons Eastern time, and it's really great, and you guys should check it out. So what I had her do was I had her send over her thumbnail, and I brought it into Illustrator, and to save time and also not make you guys absolutely bored out of your minds, I already went through and I separated all of the layers that I wanted to animate and change around to be their own layers. So in Illustrator, when you go and you're working on a layer, so let's say we make a new layer and you add a square, and then you go in and you change the color of this, and you add a circle, and that's a different color, and then you type "I love Adobe Live" in all caps. All three of these things, also LOL, that's Myriad. All three of these things are on the same layer. You'll see it's layer 24. And as you drop it down, it shows how all three of those things are within layer 24. When you're animating things, it is best to have them all on individual layers. So what I'll do is I'll normally make something or have something given to me. It'll have its layers, and then I manually go through and I will just Control X, new layer, Control V, it's its new layer, and then I'll name it what it is. So I already took the liberty of doing that for this thumbnail for all different parts that I want to kind of have singled out. You can see that we have the type tool, which she has up here on its own layer, the pen tool, the scissors, the InDesign icon. You know how it goes. And so that's all organized for us. So let's go ahead and open up After Effects. Also, a big Heidi ho to Anna Davis Court. If you stick around for 30 minutes or 26 minutes, Anna, we will be doing monkey paws. I know we don't have a guest on right now, but we will be doing a few different things that are kind of unique and traditional to Offset, including also a look through some Inktober prompts and responses. And then we'll be doing monkey paws as well. So those two segments will be happening within this hour. We're live for the next 50 minutes right here on Adobe Live. If you want to hang out, and lurk, that is more than welcome. If you have questions as I go along, please let me know. But yeah, that's kind of what we've got in store for us. So the first thing I'm going to do is you can actually just pull up a Illustrator file. This is untitled project.aep. Like I haven't done anything. I just opened After Effects. That's all I did. And what you can actually do is you can take your Illustrator file and you drag it into this project panel. And under the project panel, this prompt will pop up and it will say, let's design.ai, which is the file that we just grabbed. And it says import kind. And there's two different options. There's footage and there's composition. By default, it normally will go to footage. And basically that's saying treat my content as like an image or a video, something that doesn't have multiple layers, something that's just flat on a plane, is one piece of media, you'll be using it. It will ask you what you want to do with your layer options if it is decoding some sort of layer. In this case, it's an Illustrator file. So it's saying, hey, do you want to make it all flat into one thing? Or do you want to choose the layer that you want to import and bring that in by itself, so you don't have to bring everything in all at once? For this case, we actually don't even want to do footage because we already have it set up in such a way that we want it to be a composition. And a composition is basically your artboard in After Effects. So anything that you have as your dimensions in Photoshop and Illustrator, whatever you're bringing into the service, that's going to be your composition. And so then there's two more settings that we have under footage dimensions. You can either do layer size or document size. This comes down to preference. How this works, and I can actually even show you. I'll show you document size. So we'll say document size for this composition. So all we've done so far is we've taken a file, we've put it in here, and we said we want it to be a composition with document size. When we press OK, it's going to give us all of our layers here. And the way that After Effects works is when you open up a composition, it'll show you here in the preview panel, and then it will show you all of your layers right here. And the layers work in the same way that it does in Illustrator and Photoshop, where the bottom layers are underneath the top layers. So everything is built and stacked on itself. And then it's just a timeline in the sense you can see seconds up here that move it across. Now, if we isolate this, and this is an isolation solo thing. So if you go and you click this, it will only show me that layer, which is really nice. It'll make everything else invisible, but it won't make it actually invisible. And in this case, we're going to take the name box, which is right here, and we're going to isolate that. And you guys can see now that everything else is gone, and we have this box. Now, this box here is only these dimensions, but you can see that the constraints for the object within the composition looks like it's controlling the same thing. And that's because it is. Since we chose document size, rather than putting isolated boxes around the objects that we have, it is putting everything in its place on the composition and saying, okay, if you want to modify this, this is going to be the size of the composition. So there's going to be lots of negative space. There's going to be lots of blank area where it looks like you saved a PNG out with a transparent background and it has the background. Some people really like this because it keeps everything in play for if they go back into Illustrator and they update something, it's not going to make everything wonky. But if it's up to me, I like to bring it in and say, okay, now it lives in After Effects. If I have to go back to Illustrator, that's going to be my own burden. And I'm just going to have to make sure I have to meticulously update the things that I want to update. And so that's when I like to go in to, rather than doing in document size, I like to do in layer size. So I'm just going to delete everything we have because I was just doing that for an example. We're going to go back and we're going to take the Let's InDesign and we're going to drag it right in here. And rather than document size this time, we're going to say layer size. Okay. So layer size gives us the same situation where it has all of our sources and it has this composition. We're going to double click into the composition that we want to go to. It's reflected up here. All of your compositions will always be right here. You can also navigate it by going up to this location, and this will show you a flow chart of what layers are in your compositions. Now you can see when I go to that same box and we say name box is what we had, right? And we isolate it. You can now see that everything is selected around the corners. Okay. So there is now a little bit more of a direct relation to the objects that I have and how they're controlled. When you click things, if this doesn't pop up and you're used to having those controllers just present at least to see, um, you're like me, that's where you want to go down to here. And there's this toggle mask and shape visibility. And you just want to make sure that it's clicked on. And that'll just show you the little controllers around everything. You also have transparency down here, and you also have like region of interest. But now that we have everything in here and we all have it as one composition, the next thing I want to go over is organizing it down into pre-comps. So this is a thumbnail that Anika uses every single week. She updates different parts of it. So we don't want to create a document that is just fully like so specific that you would have a very hard time updating the situation. So one thing that we know will constantly be changing is this resume and cover letter, maybe this location with this area. So this is where After Effects really starts to shine with pre-comps and compositions in general. What you can do is you can create another pre-comp inside another composition inside this composition so that you then move those layers around together, but then you can click in and click out of it. So I know that I want to take Let's InDesign, resume and cover letter, these two boxes, and with Anika Agarwal, and put them all inside of the pre-composition. That way they're kind of grouped together like a folder. So I'm going to take our title box, our subtitle, our Let's InDesign, our name box, and with Anika. And I think that's everything. So we're going to isolate it to make sure that's everything that we want. We're going to right click it, and then you can go to pre-compose. Now a new dialog memory will pop up. It'll ask you for a name. So I'm going to say this is going to be title information. It'll ask if you want to move all attributes to the new composition, which normally you do, and adjust composition duration to the time span of the selected layers, which you want to do. And then up to you whether or not you want to open the new composition. I always like to hop in just to check on and see how things are going. I'll press OK. So now you can see that everything's here. Now you'll notice that it still makes it in the same size of a composition that you already have. And that's because now the composition exists in the composition that you just had already previously had, and they want everything to be placed properly. So you can have it in the same location without it being moved and updated. And so now if we, go in here, we hide it and we unhide it, it is essentially a folder, but it is also a composition that is running at the same time as everything else. So sometimes I like to go in here and I like to create a little bit tighter knit. So I'll go to the region of interest and I will like highlight around just the area that I care about. And then you can go to composition and you can comp to region of interest. And all this does is makes it the size that it is. But now that you see when I go back over here, After Effects was like, oh, okay, we wanted that centered, right? And you're like, okay, no, I didn't want it centered. So I'm actually gonna go back and then I'm going to what's the best way to do this? I normally I'd like go in and I would take this again. I'd take our file again and I'd input it as footage as a reference layer for whenever I wanted to reference it. So same sort of thing. We drag it. It's going to ask us this thing. This time I want to say footage, merge layers. I say okay. And now you can see that that is its own layer. Let's InDesign.ai. You bring this to the top. It looks identical. I press, well, the way that you adjust all properties in After Effects is you click this little arrow tool and it releases the transform property. And then you bring that down even more. And you can see that you have all of these things that you can adjust. You have opacity, rotation, scale, position, anchor point. Since we're using it as a reference point, I want to go ahead and I'm going to bring down this opacity to 50%. Now, if I toggle on and off that visibility, you can see not much has changed. But the second that I go in here and we do that trick again now, where we highlight it all and then go to composition, crop comp to region of interest, and we go back here, now we have this little ghost feature because it's October. Ooh. And now what I can do is very unofficially go over, kind of line it up. And there's other ways you can do this. As with anything in After Effects or Creative Cloud, there's multiple ways to do the same thing. It just comes down to preference and how stuff goes. Um, but for me, this is a reliable way to kind of just go and generally have everything line up in the same place. So I'll actually make the reference layer invisible. I'm going to change its color to something noticeable like red, and keep that at the top. Also, you notice that we haven't saved yet, Okay. So we're going to go to Control Shift S. I'm going to click and save this somewhere on not my desktop. Not going to do that. We don't save on our desktop. We label our layers. We don't save things on our desktop. We take breaks. Yeah. um, and I'm gonna just save this so that we can then come back to here, and in case anything happens, or if I need to start having the autosave happening, it is already kind of in its own runway. So let's just label it exactly what it is, which is say let's InDesign dash promo. See, it's reflected up here. It no longer has an asterisk. We know that we're good to go. And now also After Effects is going to do the handy dandy thing of saving as we work. So, um, first thing that I want to do is I kind of want to animate everything in. So I'm going to make everything else invisible besides the gradient background and the horizontal and vertical lines. So the horizontal and vertical lines are all brought in as vectors. And I want them to be vector shapes rather than linked vector documents. So you'll see if we press this down button, it'll give us transform, and then we can do things like scales. But then when we scale it, um, it's going to change the size of the strokes because it's taking the whole linked document and it's scaling it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right click it and I'm going to say create shapes from vector layer. And what that'll do is it's going to make the layer that we had go invisible. And then when you click the down button, it now has a little area called contents. And that contents holds 19 different shape layers that are all the horizontal lines. Now, the reason I want to do this is because I want to go in and I want to have them all kind of like skew into one another. So I'm going to go down to transform. I'm going to click position, and I'm going to do this for every single quote unquote group because every group is a line. And what I'm doing by creating a keyframe is I'm saying in this point in time, I want this thing to be this way. And this thing in this situation is position. So I'm saying when the play marker hits 0, 0, 0, 0, the position of this object is to be here. And the cool thing that you can do about this is when you start playing with keyframes, you're basically you're not going in and animating every single frame. All you're doing is a thing called tweening. And tweening is just the object moving between 2 points, whether that's position, whether that's scale, whether that's opacity. It's all just taking the mathematical in between of two different features, elements, you name it. So I'm going to go in here. We only have like 5 more. Go. We can click them all. And you're like, Ryan, this is getting so long. How are you going to mess with all of these keyframes? You're going to have to scroll so much. Don't you worry. After Effects is a behemoth of keyboard shortcuts. So there's ways to speed up your workflow. So I'm going to go. And we've collected position on everything. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to scroll back to the top to where my layer is. I'm going to select our layer, and then I'm just going to press the letter U. And what the letter U does is it isolates all of the attributes that have keyframes and only shows them. So now we have all of these guys, and they all have their little keyframe. Keyframe is represented by this diamond. And then that way I can go and then I can create I can move the playhead forward. We're going to move it. We're going to zoom in. We're going to move it. Let's do like a second in, and then we're going to click this diamond on the side. And as we click all these diamonds, it's making new keyframes for everything. Now we're not going to see movement yet because, as you guessed, there's nothing has changed yet. How do you go back? So you can just collapse it again if you want to, and then bring it out, or you can continue to press U and it will cycle through. Da-da-da-da. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I know that I created that keyframe at the very beginning because I wanted it to be it start where it was, but now I want it to change. So I'm going to go in here, and all of these coordinates are X, Y coordinates. Um, and so I want to just stretch it out. And I'm going to bring this all the way down here. And then I'm going to go to my very top layer, and I'm going to stretch it all the way up. So now if we zoom out, we have the top line and the bottom line up here and down here with everything else in the middle. Now, we should be able to go in and highlight all of these glorious keyframes. And then we can hop over to the align section. Oh, and since they're separate layers, they're not gonna actually pop up. Okay, so we're gonna have to do this a little bit more manually. I have a extension that lets me do kind of what I want to do. But I know this is a thing for beginners, and I don't want to make you guys rely on extensions. So what we're going to do instead is, rather than it being so mathematical, we're just kind of going to lazily hop in here. And as I click each keyframe, you can see that it is identifying which keyframe it is. And I'm just going to roughly go ahead and I'm going to drag all these out like this so that there is at least some form of animation kind of coming together to form this grid. And you can see they're off the canvas, so they will be moving between keyframes even if they're not visible, which is nice because then you can do weird things with nulls. Nulls essentially are just a little bit more advanced. They're just invisible controllers. So now we can see that over time. Oh, wait, I didn't have them selected. Rookie move. Oh, no, rookie move, everybody. I made a goof, but goofs are important because then you can realize you learn. You learn from your goofs if, you do it right. So the way that After Effects works is if you select the whole layer and you select all the keyframes, it's going to move all of the keyframes for you. But if you're not on selecting all of the layers and you only select one keyframe, then it can then adjust individually. So we're going to hop back in here. I'm going to press Control Z a bunch of times because I accidentally forgot to update the keyframes because I was like, oh, I'll just click and drag them. But we need to make sure that we are selecting the keyframe that we want to adjust and the playhead is on top of it. And then we can then adjust from there. So I'm going to make sure I click it and I move. And then just double check. Ooh, why are you not moving? Why am I adjusting the whole thing when you move? Okay, so rather than click and drag, we're going to go and we're just going to change this. And this all has numbers. So let's do it like this is 1,000. Say this is 950. We'll say this is 900. We'll say this is 850. We'll say 800, 750, 100. And like I said, like this can all, this is all just gosh. And we're going to actually divide this by 300. And we'll do 500 just because I want it to be a little bit goofable. We're going to keep this as the center one. And then we're just going to mirror our numbers. So we'll do -300, -500. So if I'm doing anything weird and you guys have questions, please, by all means, please ask me. I want to make sure that this is nice and helpful for people. 800, -900, -1,000. Ooh, we have more on this side, so we didn't go in the direct center, but that's okay. That's okay. 200. All right. Now with that in mind, here we go. Now everything brings in together, you see? And so now when we play, Nice and cool. So right now, all it's doing is it's going from point one to point two. There are a lot of ways that you can deal with easing and with controlling these 2 points. They're going from one to the other. This is a graph. We're not going to get into that because that is after you're comfortable with the program a little bit, then you can hop into there. But an easy way to do it is if you highlight everything, you right click, keyframe assistant, you have 3 options: easy ease in, and easy ease out. It just makes things easier when they move. So I just, for all purposes, make it nice and simple. We're just going to do easy ease. You can see now it's going to be kind of like slow, fast, slow. So now it's a little bit more of a forgiving adjustment like that. Already, even if we were to do literally nothing else today, which don't you guys worry, we're going to. Even if we were, um, just this simple adjustment add some interest on the sides. That's it. That's it. That's there's a lot more that we could do, but people are always like, I'm so intimidated by emotion. There's just so much going on. Like the smallest amount is one, a step for you, like props to you for getting into it. And two, people notice when things move. So if you make something just one motion change, then you're in a good spot and it's exciting. So I would encourage everyone to at least go and just try to animate something small. You'll build on top of it over time. It'll be great. Um, so we're gonna do the same thing really quickly um, for this. And in this case, I'm going to actually highlight all of the groups, and then I'm going to go down to transform with everything selected. And if you click position while everything's selected, and then you go back over here and I press this button, we don't even have to individually go in and select all the different layers in order to add keyframes to them. It already is going to pop just because I have them all selected. So we're going to do the same sort of thing now where we're just going to adjust this. But now since it's XY, we'll do 1,000. Well, 100. We'll say 950. I'm going to blow up my screen so you can see what I'm doing. Get rid of my overlay. And then I'm going to make this be 850, I guess. Ooh, wrong one. See? 850. I'm going to make this 900 even. 900, 850, 800. Remember, all this happens off screen. So, like, you can get freaky with it. You can really mess around and try different approaches and divisions between these kind of layers. And at the end of the day, like motion is motion. You can always go back and you can fine tune, but just go and play with it and see different things you can create. Because yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be a style. You can also accidentally run into things as you're working on them. And the cool thing is that these are all like adjusted from 0, 0. So they're already going to be in different spots. So I'm going to start doing this about the other direction. 50, negative 100. Also bring my face back now that you guys can see what I'm doing. Is there any questions in the chat? Any questions? Please. No such thing as a dumb question, unless it's hurtful. It's like, Ryan, why is your face shaped like that? To that I say, long story. We don't have time to because we're only live for 30 more minutes, which means we need to be working. The only thing we've done is move some lines, everybody. We're gonna make things exciting. Anika has a show to promote, which you all are going to watch because I'll be there tomorrow. And if you guys don't show up, I'm gonna know that my students didn't pull their weight. Nothing is worse than a disappointed teacher. Who would know? Just kidding. I actually taught a class before. I did TAing once. Oh, it's okay. Okay. Ryan, what are your social handles? My handles are Ryan Selvy across everything. Oh, I put Nick stuff on the bottom. There they are. I'm not Nick. I'm Ryan. My name is Ryan Selvy. There it is on the bottom. On Behance, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, it's all Ryan Selvy. We're going to highlight these things again. We're going to go in, right click, same sort of situation, and do easy ease. So now we can watch. Now they pop in at the same exact time, which makes it cool, but it also just is like, oh, then you could have just done a zoom there, and we don't want that. So we're gonna do a small offset to make one come in faster than the other, so that it has this stretchy feel, which is kind of cool. Okay. All right. The next thing that I want to do is Anika has this content border that this is where everything's going to live. This is where her image is, and this is where her border is. We can actually take the image and we're going to put it. We're gonna precompose these two things together because they need to exist together, and we're going to say image. I think yes, because everything else will stay the same. And a cool thing that you can do here is you can press this handy dandy button down here, expander collapse. No, you don't even have to do that. It's already there. Which one does it disappear with? It disappears with expander collapse the transfer controls pane. And that's this little mention here. What this does, it essentially works as a clipping mask. So if you click it, it will only have the image appear on an area that already has transparency not active on the composition. That was a bad way of wording it. Basically, if you press this button, that layer will only show up where other layers show up beneath it. So this is the layer beneath it. This is the image. This is with it off. This is with it on. To make that even more obvious, I'm going to blow it up even bigger. This is with it off. This is with it on. So hopefully that makes sense. We're about halfway through, so it's time to do some monkey paws. Are you ready? All right, guys, we're going to do this quick because I want to make sure we get far on this thumbnail. First thing we're going to do is going to go forward, palms out, bring it in. Ooh, Hold for a second. Let go. Go down. Bring it in. Ooh, Let go. Call it good. Give it out like this. Bring it in. Ooh, Let it go. Bring it in. Ooh, Let it go. Shake your hands up. You might want to do this a few times. Umacorn, I'm not sure if it's called a parallax. I don't know. Steve wants to know if it's called merger holy wow zoom, which very well could be exactly what it is. You heard it here first, folks. So, like I said, normally I do these longer, but I want to make sure that we get nice and far on this thumbnail. So we're back. We have the situation. Let's make it so that there is like a small kind of zoom happening in some sort of the sense. And we'll do a like a scale up. We'll make sure that's on. And then now there is like a small bit of motion. It's the smallest amount. Most people won't even notice, but now it's there. So the next thing that I want to do is there's this border. Similar to what we had before, I want to create shapes from vector layer. We're going to pop in here, go into contents. We have all of our different groups. All the group is these are all the different squares that we have. And then this is the outlined border. So thank you, Anna, for being here. And I'm going to select the path when we go into group 7, because that is the one that is controlling the big boy here around everything else. We're going to make all of the other ones invisible just so that I can really focus on the one at hand. We're going to go into 1 second. We're going to copy that. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to select all my keyframes that I have here, or all my anchor points, and then I'm just going to size down the border that we have. And same sort of thing, guys. All we're doing is we're saying at the very beginning we want this path to be this big, and then we want it to expand. And that's all we're doing. That's all we're doing. So I'm going to make it a little bit later so it doesn't happen right at the beginning. We're going to do the easy ease for that. And then we're going to reimagine all of our boxes here. We're going to highlight them all again like we just did. This time we're going to go to transform, and we're going to press position. And that way they all have position points. We're going to press U to make sure that everything is all selected in the right place. You can navigate the timeline by hitting these arrows back and forth. And so I'm going to go where I know the end of that other border is, and we're going to create a keyframe for you guys. Going to go in, and then we're going to have to move all of these bad boys down to match the exact location where the our other friend is, because we want it to move alongside. So we still have to say move it from here to here. So you don't have to be as diligent about this, because I have a feeling like it's going to move so fast most people won't see it. But we're just going to make sure that we have clicked on the right box as we animate, and we want to just make sure that that its position lines up properly. This one isn't the bottom left, it's the top right one still, because at the end of the day it still needs to kind of come from the same source. So we'll go and we'll click and we'll bring this guy down. I'm just holding the arrow things right now. Can you change this background image later if you want to? Yes, and that is the beauty of a precomposition, baby. Is this the right one? This is not the right one. Who are you to judge? All right, we're going to bring that over here. Cool. Then we can see that all of these actually are 920.7, which is where we want to be. So then we have our other ones, which are all 9.5, which we know we don't want them to be in that location. So we're going to go over, and they should be closer to, whatever this is. So we can actually identify the coordinate of this X factor. So this is, rather than 920, wait, no, was it this one? It was that one. Okay, cool. We're going to want to make this, 900? About 905. No, 902. 901? All right, 901 works. Now we want to know that we can make this to 901 and this to 1. We're going to need to make it taller than 9.5. It's going to be closer to like 490 or something. Where do you go? Are you the bottom left? This is what I was talking about. This is the top right. I mean, top left. So we want to make sure that this is justifiably top left. I lost it though. There it is. Okay, cool. Bring it up. Cool. And then this bottom left. Bottom middle. Bottom middle. What happened to our bottom left one? Oh boy. Oh boy. That's okay. And then you're going to go ahead and we're going to bring up this position like that. And now if we add ease to all of these, we will then be able to have it all expand, and it works together. Wow. Wow. Look at that, everybody. Look at that. We already have something so cool. We have something so cool. All right. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to make it so that only that images shows up where the other stuff is. and we made a little section for it already. But what's really cool is we can go into those border outlines. We're going to duplicate that thing entirely. So the thing that we just made, save your work by the way. I'm going to press Control D, and that's going to recreate everything. We're going to not need the group of all the small boxes. So we're going to need to go in. I'm just going to delete. Which one is the actual? Which one is the real bad boy? Which one has the path construction on it? So I'm going to press U on it and see which one says path rather than transform. It's going to tell me none because I'm a goober. It's this one. It's group 6. Is group 6 the one that we're thinking of? Yeah, group 6. So I can go in here and I can get rid of group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, group 5. It says group 6 is the one, but I don't think group 6 is the one. If we move it, yeah, get rid of group 6. Group 7. Group 7, I believe. Yes. So group 7 has a stroke with no fill. So we want to go in and we're going to add a fill. So that makes everything red. And you're like, well, Ryan, that looks awful. I know. Thank you. It's my livelihood. And we're going to rename this to be matte. What you can do is you can say over here, I want anything kind of the reverse of what we did before. I want anything that exists for this image, the one with the background, to only exist where the one above exists. So we'll say alpha matte, which is above. And so now, ta-da, it like appears. Now, I don't really like how that all pops up right there from that moment. So I'm going to wait till it starts moving, and we're going to make it appear in those moments. So I'm going to highlight the different sections that we want and hold Alt and left bracket. And you can see that now those selected layers don't have color over here, which means they're not visible. So when the playhead is going over a non-visible location, nothing's going to pop up. So we have something like that. And we still have that motion in the beginning. All right, we got about 10 minutes left, you guys. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to bring in Anika. Welcome to the stream, Anika. Just kidding. I have her as photo. And she is already there. All we need to do is another tween. So we're going to press P for position, and that's going to open up the position situation here. And so as this kind of expands, we will move forward. We're going to hit position again. We're going to go back to our first one, make sure it's highlighted, and we're going to get rid of Anika. So now, same sort of thing, always tweening. I'm going to clean it up by doing Alt left bracket. We're going to highlight these, do easy ease, and she comes in. Now, she comes in a little too fast for me, so I'm going to bring it back a little bit. So it's like, now it's too slow. Same sort of thing. You can also go ahead and you can take the whole composition and the keyframe or the whole layer, and if you move it around, the keyframes will move with it as well. Look at that. Da, 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 da. Look at her. What else do we have? We have color adjustment, what I think is actually just goes over top of everything. I think that's just how. That was just a stylization that Anika added to it. But I don't think that it needs to be. Do you want it on top of you? Is it supposed to be on top? Just keep tweening. Just keep tweening. What do? We tween, tween, tween. All right. So we have that. We have title information, which we already have located here. Now, if we click into this, we can always edit this text if we want to. And then, well, actually, we want to replace it with text because it imported it as an object and not there. So I'll normally go over, I'll copy it directly from Illustrator. I'll go into the area where I want it. I'll press the type tool and I'll press paste. It will actually take all of the stylization from Illustrator for you. So I'll just go in and I will just delete it accordingly. I'll do the same thing with Let's InDesign. Copy. Then I go in, same thing, type tool, click, Control V, place it on top. Then I know I can get rid of letter. Title box, that's title box. We want Let's InDesign to be gone. And the last thing that we want, even though this will never change because it will always be Anika until the day she dies. Control V. I want to make sure that when I'm adding things, I'm putting the left adjusted paragraph. That way, when we update accordingly, it's not a big deal. I'm going to highlight all three of them, pressing Control and clicking them. And go to our align section, just like Illustrator, and I can hit align left and just make sure everything's all timed up. The reason I do this is now I can go like that, and you see when we go back here, it's now updated accordingly. So Control Z, and now it's back as well. We could, if we had more time, could animate these like individually to come in, but instead I'm just gonna do a scale, which is pressing S. I press the left bracket to move things all the way over to the left or whatever. And I'm going to hit the time keyframe for scale and then bring it in a little bit and click that. And so all I'll do is go to the very beginning and press 0. We'll do the same thing. Always add an ease to everything. And we play, it should pop up. So once again, we can move that all around and look at that. Now we have about 10 minutes left. There are different icons that we have here. Oh, we can't forget the InDesign icon, though. We have to do that. I'm going to also add the same exact thing. Here's a cool thing you can do. Since the scale of the title information goes from 0 to 100, and that's the same exact thing that we want right now, I can actually just go in and copy the scale. You can also get the scale by pressing it down, going to transform, and getting the scale and highlighting it, and pressing Control C. But when I go to the InDesign icon, even though it's something completely different and they're different sizes, they're still at 100% from when we imported them. So I'm going to press Control V, and you'll see that the scale has already been introduced in the same way in the same location. So now when we zoom, it will also bring in an InDesign. It's pretty neat. Pretty neat. And guys, just with that alone, like it's already looking so exciting. Not much. We haven't done much, you know. We just moved things around a little bit and told them to move in between those two places. We do have these icons that I would probably animate if I had more time. I'll do like a position keyframe maybe for this, but like you could obviously make them cut or something if you wanted to get a little bit fancier. But all I do is do position. I moved it. It will do it. One thing that's really helpful for me is you highlight two things. You go to keyframe assistant, you go to time reverse keyframes, and then it will reverse the two for you so that then it will, like if you move it to somewhere, it will then still move in later. So we'll go like this. What else am I missing? Where's the pen tool? The pen tool's down here. It's like peeking. I feel like it's normally higher than that, isn't it? Am I wrong, Anika? Is it on your forearm like that? Can I resize this into 9:16 format quickly? Not with how I set it up. I mean, you could always take the background and adjust it, and then you'd have to move everything. But, you know. Hey, Richard. Welcome to the stream. We're just about to close out. But I'm glad that you're here. And I might like put the light bulb behind the title information so that it hides a little bit more. And then like as it pops up, we can go here and we can press position. Then we can bring it up. I'm moving a little bit faster, but we're running out of time. Same sort of thing. We're going to highlight the two of these. Keyframe assistant, time reverse keyframes. Right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. Okay. Is that everything on screen? The last thing is this thing. I really want. I would like to ideally animate this later. So I'm going to just precompose it right now and say ruler. To quote Lord, I can be your ruler. I can be your ruler, ruler. You could be my queen bee. I get notes after the show. They're like, okay, everything was great. Thank you for teaching us about motion design, but never sing again. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, for sure. I get that. I understand. It's good crit. Doing position. See, I'm just like moving things. I'm doing nothing new from what we've already talked about. And then we'll go easy ease. Whew, well, guys, that was a whirlwind, wasn't it? But we did it. Let's check it out. Wow. Look at that. And all the stuff that you can do. I know I did some things a little bit fast, but I want to make sure we fit it within the hour. Does anybody have any questions? And I'm sorry that I flew through it so fast. We do have 5 minutes left, which is why I kind of wanted to have 5 minutes left, honestly. Because I want to see if we could do ignore that. I wanted to see if I could pull up just a few more Inktober things because I'm just having the best time with Inktober. I can. So we're gonna do this real quick and then we'll close out. So October Ink. What I should really start doing is just see if you guys can like identify the things that I do with different animations to be like, you could see that I did like a rotation tween on that hand. Krabby by Willie Tron's really cool. It's off of the Inktober chat. Also, Cody has a thing called Beartober going on. I don't know if I hadn't grabbed any for these because I just found out about Beartober in the last segment. But really, really cute. And tomorrow I will be including Beartober in the interesting call outs of artists. This is for Krabby for Inktober by Willie Tron 2000. Love the texture, love the composition, the like kind of found frame situation going on. Lagoon Creature Feature. This is one that I found also today was the Mabs Drawloween Club, and they have really fun prompts. They seem to have a really good community. I like the like pinup girl style of this one, but it's a little lagoon creature. This whatchamacallit thingamajig is their name, and they create knittings for every one of the Inktober's or whatever, the Mabs Drawloween Club, which is really admirable and really cool. So check them out. This one also is crazy. Like this one all have like very weird vintage vibes to it with Lagoon Creature Feature. And it's by Perilla Art. Another really cool one by Selva Femkt. It's a Q, so it's SELVAFEMQT. Don't know how to pronounce it. Very cool. Love the lighting, love the texture. This one's adorable. Lydia Jean Art was actually liked by Jetpacks and Roller Skates, which I'm another big fan of. And so obviously he's into it. I'm into it too. Oh my God, we're like the same person. Then we have Pharaoh Simond, who did this great one. They do all of theirs, on, I guess, on hand and then put them in these tiny little frames, which is really cute. And I really enjoy that. Lantern is off of Peachtober, which is another really popular one. And this is from Artmonic. And just I love how this white goes into the outside and then into the composition. I thought that particularly was really beautiful. I also loved their limited color palette and composition, rounded corners, you name it. Thought it was very cute. This is Sleepy Pup. I thought it was very simple and cute, but I liked the glow of the fire for Lantern. Another one, Lantern Art by Thurara. This kind of reminded me of Cody's work a little bit, which is why I included it. And it just has a storybook feel to it. It feels like it's part of a nice little cute tale. And I thought that it was just endearing. So tomorrow, like I said, I'll have Beartober. Make sure you check out Cody Bear's stuff. So good. She just had a really good time going through her power prompts. And so you can check out that replay online as well. But that's it for me for today. I will be back tomorrow with a guest, actually, even though this was the best guest that ever happened. But I really appreciate you guys. Monica says all the vintage monsters need to make it into my home decor. I know, right? I've seen a few people do the vintage monster thing, and it's really cool. A big thank you to absolutely everyone who was here and commenting and keeping it down, holding the fort down. If you're watching a replay, great to see you. Nice to meet you. Find me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, I guess even TikTok. Behance at Ryan Selvy. That's RyanSelvy. And I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. Stay here on Adobe Live for the next thing. I still need to look up what they are, but take care, and y'all better be at Let's InDesign tomorrow, because I'll be there and I'll be looking for you guys. So stay frosty. That's it. You're still here? It's over. Go home.
Go.